I want to ask you if you believe in the tribulation. I don't know that you do. But let me ask you this question. The COVID-19 lost years is what the question refers to, and then if you can compile a list of the things that you lost, things that were routine. For instance, I'll tell you personally, I love at least 2 to 3 weeks vacation in the month of August. Dating this message is August. Now, generally I'd be somewhere on the road. I love driving. I love driving my car, and I love Route 66 and pulling up to a Tuckle's joint or to an Arby's, and pulling up to a Dairy Queen and then getting back in the car and having the blistering sun beating down on me in Wyoming or in Utah, going out on the great salt flats of Utah. I love driving and driving out to the Sierra Nevada mountains. I love it. It's like dope. Driving my car and listening to the music and, just dress casually for 2 to 3 weeks is like dope to me. And going through the parks, whether it be Yellowstone or whether it be, some of the other great parks of the West, of Sierra Nevadas, I love it. I haven't done that now going on 3 years. I miss that greatly. And I generally, I would think how much of my life has been lost in terms of my own sense of creativity. I find myself terribly creative on Interstate 70, especially from Utah to Denver, from down if you will, from Interstate 15, from Las Vegas to Denver. If you've ever been to Las Vegas, I love Vegas as well. There's several things. One of the restaurants is just out of this world. Have you ever eaten at a Spago restaurant, Wolfgang Puck? I save all my pennies for the opportunity to dine at the Spago restaurant at the Bellagio Hotel in Las Vegas. It's just an experience of the food. After that, I'm broke. I'll be eating hot dogs all the way back. But from Las Vegas to Denver, Interstate 15, Interstate 70, is just a time of uber creativity for me. And I write a lot of sermons. I write a lot of songs. And I haven't been able to have that privilege. What about you? What have you missed over the past couple of years since we've been locked down? Now, a lot of people still traveling. And the other question I want to ask you, did you get the virus? It started over 19 months ago. Did you get it? Have you had it? A lot of people got it, didn't even know they had it. A lot of people going to the doctor said you got antibodies. They didn't even know they had it. But did you get it, and are you aware of it? Do you know of anyone who died that you've lost as a result of the past 2 years of the Corona-19 virus? These are some questions. Did you get the virus? Have you lost anything? Have you lost anyone? Question number 4, are you a medical professional? Have you worked in the medical field? A woman down in Mississippi weeping the other day. She was a registered nurse, but she says she's leaving the profession. She just can't deal with the carnage of the virus and how deadly that virus takes people out, including young children. So are you a medical professional? Are you a pastor? Are you a spiritual leader? Are you a teacher? Are you a person who works in, with communities, such as working in restaurants or working around large number of people? Are you an athlete? Do you mask? Did you get the vaccination? Were you forced to get it? Did you choose not to get it? And by the way, I'm not here as an arbitrator of who should be vaccinated, who should not be vaccinated. That's not my thing. You want to be vaccinated? Go ahead, man. If you don't want to be vaccinated, go ahead, man. That's your thing. However, I am here on behalf of the mask. I think everybody should wear a mask. Can I tell you that I've not had a cold in 2 years? Generally, I get a cold 2 and 3 colds every winter season. It just happens. I mean, and they're terrible. I'm sniffling and coughing and snotting and blowing and aching and paining and sweating. I've not done that now in 2 years because I've been wearing a mask. I used to think I got a cold because I'd preach in the pulpit. I'd get soaking wet, I was sweating up there, hollering ATLAH and jumping up and down saying boom, shakalaka, and sweating in the pulpit, and then going into a drafty area of the building and my pores being wide open. But that isn't the reason why I caught colds. I caught colds because I caught it from other people who had it in the air. But now wearing a mask, I've not had a cold. We've had one of our elders' wife, Sabbath, said she's got 5 children, and none of them have had colds in 2 years, and children get colds all the time. The mask works. I'm an advocate of the mask. Man, put on a mask. Put on a mask and do it now. But vaccination, that's your thing. But do you believe? Or do you doubt? And the question is, do you believe we're in the tribulation? And that's what I've been driving up here to say. That's what I want to ask you about as a result of COVID-19, the fall of Afghanistan. Do you believe we're in the tribulation? And then, of course, you've got some misguided people who believe there's some sort of pre-tribulation event that takes place with these evangelicals, which is the craziest, unbiblical. You know, I used to run with the evangelicals, the Southern Baptists, the Charles Stanley, the Jerry Falwells of the Adrian Rogers and Homer Lindsay and Jerry, Jerry Vines and the Patterson boys. Now, I used to run around down there in the South hanging out with them boys all the time in the Southern Baptists, but I swear I have never seen, I remember when Dr. Criswell was pastor of the First Baptist Church in Dallas. Dr. Criswell in this white suit and his big Bible. But I swear I have not seen anything like these recent Southern Baptist preachers are some of the craziest, dumbest SOBs I've ever seen in my life. I swear to God, I've never seen some SOBs as dumb as the present cadre of Southern Baptist evangelicals in their understanding. First of all, even the Jerry Falwell types were pre-trib, thinking that somehow or another God's going to rapture the Southern Baptists out of the earth before he drops the tribulation. And there's nothing biblical about that. It's as unbiblical as anything. Actually, what it does, the Southern Baptists and their pre-tribulation ideology or theology states that Jesus he came to earth once. He'll come back again just to get the Southern Baptist evangelicals and what is known as the pre-tribulation rapture. And then he's going to drop the rapture. And then after the rapture, he's going to come back again a third time to get the elect. I've never heard anything as asinine as that in all my days. Jesus is not going to make a third trip to the planet Earth. And he's not going to make a trip just for the evangelicals and Southern Baptists and all that left behind Hal Lindsey, if you will, demonic writings and teachings that are spread across evangelical and Southern Baptists. But in general, do you believe in the tribulation? Most people do that know anything about the Bible. And, since we've gone through this process, what's the health of your faith? I did a piece earlier in another segment about the fact that these mega churches are as empty as a pocket. People aren't going to never come back to them big old domes, these 4,000 and 5,000 seat houses that these people built. They ain't gonna never fill them joints again. Never. So what's the health of your faith? By that, has your faith waned? Are you less faithful now? Are you more cynic now? Have you given yourself over to LGBTQ? Have you gone ahead and said, what the hell? God ain't right about everything. Have you begun to doubt the Bible, doubt the Old Testament, think that God's a mean God sitting up there in heaven and raising hell about everything? What's the health of your faith? Have you been led to think that the Old Testament is somehow another, a book for old people? It's irrelevant. Have you been? Have the devil come in and just brought you to a point now to whatever feel goods in contemporary? Did your church and or your faith survive COVID-19? I don't want to tell you about our church, but I can tell you this, we have survived. There are millions of lost children, which is the other thing as well. I've lost 2 years of my voyages to the Sierras. I've lost 2 years of that, 2 years of my life that have been so meaningful. But there are literally in America millions, at least 2 to 3 million children that have been lost in the system. Their parents are not necessarily registered in a major way. They're not a member of a church. They would go to a school locally in the community. Their parents weren't married and didn't have strong community ties. The COVID-19 hit. The schools were closed down. And now children have lost 2 years of growth, 2 years of education. A child that would normally be 14 years old now is only 12. A child that was normally 12 years old now is only 9.5 because of that absence of the interaction and the absence of the education process. And these years will never be regained again. I do thank God for the great work of our educational staff that made sure that our children did not lose. In fact, our children advanced during this process. But just in general, the world has stopped for the last year and a half. It has. It has stopped, except in places where it had already stopped, such as in sub-Saharan Africa, where, life went on, and nothing really changed in places in poverty, nations like Mali and Ghana and Sierra Leone and Liberia, and those Zimbabwe's and the Ugandas and Kenyas and, if you will, Nigerias of the world. The world didn't really stop because it really wasn't going very much and very fast. So they haven't noticed. Let me raise this as a theological question. And these are nations and places like Afghanistan and in Herat or in Kandahar or in Kabul or in Uzbekistan or in Iraq or in if you will, some of the other, if you will, Arabic nations where poverty is just off the charts. The world didn't stop. COVID-19 didn't stop them the way it stopped America because the pace they were going at, they're still going at. Does this somehow, philosophically portend that the Hamite world will advance beyond the Japheth and Shemite world that has been stunted by COVID-19, while the Hamite world pretty much what was going on in Mali or in Zimbabwe or in Kenya or in Niger 3 years ago, the COVID-19 did not change. No one noticed the difference. But millions have been lost whose lifestyles have been greatly curtailed. And do we see now in advance that the Hamite people themselves will advance during the tribulation because their life and their lifestyles continue to grow? That's the question I've asked. Do you believe in the Holy War? I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. I want to ask you to come up close for just 1 second. And I want to talk to 3-year and older veterans of the Trust in the Lord Hour, the Open Rewards Prayer Meeting, the Manning Report, and the Pulpit of Power, those 4 ministries that we do every week. Producing at least 20 different ministries or sermons every week. If you are a 3-year or older veteran, by old I mean 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, older veteran of any of these ministries that we do on a daily basis every week, and you are not a supporter, you've not joined with the ministry to give to pledge your support and your alignment with what we've been teaching. My question is why? You've had 3 years to observe us. You've had 3 years to listen to us on a daily basis, all weekend, all day long, any hour of the day. We're broadcasting. You've had 3 years to watch our various successes. You've 3 years to watch our ups and downs. You've had 3 years to listen to the tenor or the consistency of what we have said, whether we are consistent or whether we're all over the chart and what we do and what we believe. You've had 3 years to watch people around us who have made the commitment to join with our ministry in church and to financially support it. And by the way, I want to give another shout out to Brother Jesse Munoz out there in San Bernardino, along with Goldfinger, who is just extraordinary giver, and others that do extraordinary giving to our ministry. My question is to you, if you are a 3-year veteran or older, why haven't you joined? Why haven't you committed? And I suppose some of the reasons would say, well, Pastor, man, I belong to another church. And why? How could you, after 3 years of hearing me teach about the Sabbath, about righteousness, about the tribulation, and listen to me faithfully as you do, and still go sit up in another pastor's face? How could you be? It's like a woman sleeping with two men. You know, one she likes during the week and the other she likes on the weekend. It's hypocritical. How could you do that? I mean, let's say you started 3 months ago. I can understand why it may take you some time to evaluate, may take you some time to look at me, to discover, who I am. You say, well, Pastor, that's not that I don't belong to another church or ministry. I'm with you. But there's some things you say I like, and there's some things you say I don't like. Why? Why is it that you've made a decision that there's some things that you don't like are stronger than the things that you do like? I am not a psychiatrist, but I am an analyst. And I have to tell you, I analyze the world, understanding. But the understanding and wisdom tells me this, that if there are things that a person such as myself that I am saying, there is no room to disagree with what I am saying unless your purpose is to find something to disagree with. Let's say, for instance, you say, well, I like the fact that you talk about Obama, but I don't like the fact that you talk about Trump. Let's say, for instance, you're one of those, right? Well, the purpose, it isn't that you just like what I say about Obama, but don't like what I say about Trump. What it is that you are looking for a reason to support Trump. It isn't that you don't like it. It's just that you don't like the fact that I'm saying something about him. It isn't that what I'm saying is wrong. Let me put it that way. It isn't what I'm saying is wrong or indifferent. You know it's right. But you've lived your life, or you've come up, or you've been raised with a doctrine that you can really live in a false reality. That's where you are. You've been raised in a doctrine that you can live in a false reality. That is to say, you can like the truth about Obama, but you don't like the truth about Trump. And it's the same truth. It's the same truth. There's no difference. But because you have been indoctrinated to live in a false reality, you are really a person who needs psychological debriefing. But trust me, there are zillions of people around the world who live that way. There are people who know what I'm saying about Trump or Obama is right. They know it, but they choose to ignore it based on the fact that they find a reality that isn't true, and they've settled in there. Say, that's one of the reasons why I've not made a commitment, because, I don't like the fact, I wish you would support what I support. But the truth of the matter is, then why do you come? You've given 3 years or more of your life to listen to me? 3 years of your life to listen to me? And you're not tired of listening to me yet? And you've given 3 years of your life, and over the past 3 years, your life has been greatly upgraded. You've learned, you've been educated, you've been enlightened. And let me say this to you. If you make the commitment, say, well, Pastor, I'm joining with you, and I'm going to support, I'm going to do the tithe and offering, I'm going to do the first fruit, I'm going to keep the Sabbath, your life is going to soar. Now listen to me very carefully, and I'm not going to leave you alone after this. Listen to me very carefully. You come as often as you come over the past 3 years because you're being helped. You're being educated. You're being enlightened, right? Right. But the thing that you like whether you say, well, I like what you say about Obama, but I don't like what you say about Trump. You do the same thing with the Word of God, such as you like the things I say, the teachings that I say, the way I explain the Bible, the way I break it all down and make it clear. But when it comes to things like money or tithing and offering or the Sabbath, well, that is also true, but because of your false reality, because you really need a psychological debriefing, because of your false reality, you choose not to believe the tithe or the first fruit or the Sabbath. Now, it isn't that it isn't true. It's as true with all the other things I've said. But you live in a false reality where you try to ignore the truth about the tithe, and so you don't do it. But everything else I say is good to go. Everything I ever say is good to go, good enough to share with your friends. It makes you laugh. It educates you. It enlightens you. But the tithe, well, and the full commitment to the ministry, well, the first fruit offerings, well, the Sabbath, that's all true as well. But you have chosen and you've been raised and indoctrinated to have a dual reality, which is dangerous. Jesus said this, and I'll leave you. He said, I would rather you be either hot or cold, but not lukewarm. You're lukewarm. You have a dual reality. He said, if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. I would rather you be completely stomped down against Pastor Manny, trying to take him down. Be fully against him. Be against him with all of your strength. Or be fully for him with all of your strength. But don't be in the middle, somewhere lukewarm. You're better than to be spit out of the mouth of Jesus if you're lukewarm. So what's it going to be? You're going to make the commitment and grow and be even better blessed, or you're going to continue to walk in the lukewarm spit of the mouth of the Savior. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.